Disclaimer. The characters in this story are entirely fictitious. Any resemblance to real-world people, places, or events would be really fucking weird. This story comes from a campaign that constantly reminds me just how ludicrous my friends can be. Playing was my buddies Ben, Alex, and Michael, with myself as the Dungeon Master. Now, when me and my friends played D&D in our early days, our stories were pretty much completely improvised. The DM might have a couple of basic ideas written down on paper, but it was very rare to have an overarching story in our campaigns, especially since we don't have the time to play regularly anymore. However, for one time, I decided that I would write out an entire one-shot story and show it off at our next get-together we had. Something I also planned was using simplified character sheets so to not waste time rolling stats. I also simplified weapon spells and items so people could still choose what they wanted but not spend too much time thinking. One thing I had overlooked, however, was pets. In our house rule D&D, every party member is allowed to start with one animal companion, and that animal can be of the player's choosing. I was also experimenting with a new system for this session and I didn't really want anything to interrupt it, so I said that the players would start off with no pets. This was a mistake. We start off our usual D&D story. You wake up in a tavern, talk to townsfolk, etc. before the party stepped outside. This is where the three of my friends encountered their first big NPC that I wanted them to meet. It was a homeless man asking for a donation. Ben, in response to this, asks to do a charisma check. His action? Get the homeless man to be their first pet. Now, I didn't really want or even expect this to happen, but it would be bad of me as a Dungeon Master to say no to this request, so I let Ben roll the dice. He gets a critical success! The homeless man outside the tavern was now a commendable follower of Ben's. I had not planned for this in my narrative, but nonetheless, the party welcomed their new member and changed his name to Dave. One thing that made this slightly problematic, as you'll soon see, is that where an animal companion is somewhat limited to their action, a human NPC could basically do anything the player characters could do. Or more specifically, anything the player character doesn't want to do. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Going forward a little more, the team ran into a shepherd looking after a flock. And of course, only one pet for a party of 3? You must be mad! Everyone is entitled to at least one animal in our D&D. Ben again goes for a charisma roll, also offering a few additional incentives to the man. I didn't exactly want the party to break up my story even more so I tried to play it off that the shepherd couldn't leave his flock in case of wild animals. It was at this moment that Ben had an idea.
Can I use Dave to donkey punch him?
Excuse me?
Can I command Dave to donkey punch this shepherd so that he'll follow us?
So just to be clear, you're going to use your slave to donkey punch this guy so that he'll want to join you?
Yes.
Wait, what's donkey punching?
No, Michael! So, Ben, commanding his slave, proceeded to perform the act of donkey punching this guy the party had just met, rendering the man somewhat dazed and confused, making it easier to convince him to join them. And Dave did this on every single person he met. And like I said, a good Dungeon Master cannot stop anyone from doing anything, so I just had to accept it. After about another 3 slaves were acquired through Donkey Punch Dave's actions, bringing the total up to 5, we reached what might have been the magnum opus of the event. The party came across a bandit woman trying to break into a home. They didn't immediately do anything with Dave, everyone was given a fair chance to join them. They weren't monsters after all. They helped the woman break into the house, asked her to join, and after she refused, got Dave on her ass. Fortunately for the woman, due to her high movement stat, she was able to escape. The first attempt. Knowing this was going to be a slippery target, Ben used a ranged weapon to knock her over. Success! Then he used a rope Alex had acquired, caught up with the girl and tied her up. And instead of taking her as a slave at that moment, decided to try donkey punching her again just to make her even more helpless. I never said these stories were going to be pretty. Dave completed his duty, so to speak. The woman damn near passed out and they carried her along as pet number 6. The woman was in shock, the game was in its highest moments, and it was then that I kind of realised maybe writing a full D&D story for these guys is somewhat of a wasted effort.